So, music's running too.
Yeah, I can't hear anything, but
Yeah, the head bob's working well.
I'll pretend.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it's a song all about the cash. So, welcome everybody. This is our first show. Oh, the music stopped. I know. Yeah. Joke's on you.
That's right.
All right. I like it. Anyway, welcome to our premiere episode of Like an Entrepreneur. And so this is well, we're just going to start out by saying, well, a couple of things. One is there's a brand new term for everybody here that I really want to share with everybody. And we're going to discuss this a little bit more, but here you go. Is that it's in Twitch chat and in YouTube chat, and it's called OFA, as in, oh, fuck. Yeah. And like, it stands for Opportunity of Fucking Awesomeness. And I know that I just lost a couple of prim and proper people, entrepreneurs out there that can't agree with that, but that's okay, because we're just going to be a little bit edgy about this stuff, and we're going to share, the stuff that really matters. So the reason that this show came about is because Jordan and I have been working on a project that I figure has been about 8 months now. Is that about how long we've been working on it?
Been a while.
So originally, what we set out to do was to make a new product, and that's actually very much like finding opportunities. And so we did this project of where we've got. I'm a professional YouTuber. I've been on YouTube for 10 years now, and Jordan here is really good at info marketing and putting this stuff together so that you guys can absorb it, and so that I can do a brain dump and you guys can pick it up. So my dump truck comes along, and then your I don't know, Tonka toys shovel it up.
Okay.
Okay. And so basically, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about the product here in a little bit, but basically it is my and Jordan's way of doing business. We're both entrepreneurs, both been entrepreneurs for a long time, and it's our way of doing business, and we're applying it to different areas. And so these different areas are, I'm just taking the easy one first. YouTuber. Be a YouTuber, playing video games and getting paid to play, and showing mom and dad or your wife or grandma and grandpa or whoever, coworkers, when you quit your job and say, see ya, I'm going to play video games. And they'll be like, what? Yeah, so that is what we're doing. And so I'm really excited about it. The product's going to be released in about 2 weeks. But you can sign up for it right now. ! No job in Twitch chat, and in YouTube there is a link in the description. Actually, it's the very first link in the description where you can get on the list. So, Jordan, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I just enjoy going to meetings with you, meeting new people, and watching the facial expressions when you tell them what you do for a living. Because you get all the you get all the professionals there who are sometimes full of themselves, sometimes just nice people, but none of them get what you do. I mean, at least if they're over the age of 40, they won't. They just don't get it.
Jordan told me one time that he didn't want to go to more meetings with me because I suck all the air out of the room. And I'm like, what? And it's really because he has a hard time competing with his skills, which are very necessary for this new product that we're putting together. But JJ says when he signed up, he actually did the internet high five.
Oh,
he
cool.
high-fived it to his screen.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Right on, JJ.
So sign up, you guys, and you can see what JJ is talking about.
Yes.
So
give us an internet high five. Right.
Yes. On. Yes. So
yeah, and well, it's you're not half far off. We went with a friend of ours to a meeting, a bunch of new people, and I just leaned over to him, and I said, deadpan, man. I was like, as long as Marky's with us, we will never be the most interesting guys in the room by any means.
Man, I'm disappointed to hear that. Because, I mean, it's cool and stuff, but have you ever noticed when I go to meetings, I stay quiet a lot?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm blessed with really exciting work that I do. And who else can lose a ship worth 800 million ISK in game, yell fuck, and still have their job?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. That happened
guess-
yesterday, and my wife came running in to see what was the matter. Yeah. She was
Gotcha.
worried that the other people in the house wouldn't understand, and I'm like, just tell them I'm acting. So,
That's funny.
okay.
So
So,
you wanna start off with the first couple of points?
well, I just want to say just a little bit more about these shows.
Yeah.
And so these shows are designed to be entrepreneurial in general. It's not going to be just about the current product that we're working on with the YouTube stuff. You know, if you've got a lawn mowing business, we're happy to take your questions. If you've got a television studio, which I happen to know one of the guys who watches, that he starts television studios and then sells them. And, we've got all kinds of people. And so this is just going to be a whole roundabout thing, and I'm really excited about it. So you can ask questions in Twitch or in YouTube. You guys in YouTube, somebody say hello. I don't know that anybody is even there. Nobody has said hello yet, and I want to make sure that I didn't accidentally check that nobody can talk. It's really bad when I do that. It's happened to me a couple of times. So
Well, I can try.
oh yeah. So, so this is going to be for everybody. And that's why we're doing this, because this first product that we're doing right now, one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be exploring what people are looking for and wanting. And the next product might be about exactly what you're trying to do. So, all right. So there's Jordan, Mikkel, and Adela, Phoenix. Thank you. So, okay. So feel free to ask your questions. We're going to do our best. This is our first show, and so we're going to do our best to see the questions and to make sure that we answer as much as we can. And will someone please? Yes, thank you for banning him. And so you missed it, Jordan.
I did. I'm just not as quick on the uptake as I need to be.
Jordan has done webinars a lot, and if any of you who have been in formal business stuff, you have maybe done webinars before, but Twitch chat, much different. Yeah.
Got it.
So.
Got it. Got your finger on the trigger, so to speak.
Yeah. So, okay. So. Today's show, the focus is really how to find opportunities like an entrepreneur. And so, yes, we will start up on this. So, okay. Now I'm just reading my notes, and you got to forgive us. This is our initial show. There's no glitz, no glamour. Duke isn't barking out stuff. I had to put Duke away. He wasn't cooperating this morning. He was more about bringing out the guns and shooting space aliens than he was about entrepreneurship, and that's okay. So, okay.
Well, when we were first talking about this, we were talking about what stories most people have in regards to what value is and their values, right? And most of us get them from our parents.
Right.
So if we take a look at what my parents did, they got their stories from their parents, right? So our parents are baby boomers. And if you think about how baby boomers relate to value, it's a lot of times it's thing oriented, right? So back in
very
the 80s,
materialistic.
Yeah, I mean, not that that's bad. It's just, their parents grew up through their parents went through the Depression. Their parents instilled a very hardworking mentality to them, which they.
Sorry, people are saying they're hearing echo.
All right. How's this?
Well, I think that it's something I've heard people say before with. Sorry.
It's okay.
This is what happens. Call this the pilot show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Work out
more
the kinks.
you're more likely to see possible little errors. Oh shit! What just happened? Like that one. No, nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. It doesn't count.
Okay.
So, okay, I'm lowering your volume just a little bit.
Okay. So maybe
Okay.
that'll help.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. We'll work on that for next time. So, we'll do the best we can with it and continue on. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, and
So, baby boomers.
yeah. So Alpha Wave 2000 says my mom, God bless her, is quite materialistic, right? Well, I'm not saying that they're bad. They're not evil people. It's just we're just talking about values here. We're just talking about what they value. We're talking about how they see the world, right? So what do? They instilled upon the Gen X generation, which is you and I, and they've said, get a job, work really hard, get the nice house, get the nice car, get promoted, all of that stuff. And, it's not bad advice per se. It's just not for us, right? And of course, the millennials come along, and the millennials don't feel like they've got much of a shot at anything. On the whole, statistically, millennials feel screwed. They totally just feel just like almost hopeless screwed. Like the economic climate is bad, the climate is bad. Like they're going to live at home forever. That may not be you, but that's statistically what millennials feel like, and that's how they feel about when somebody says you got to go out and work real hard and get a job doing something that you hate. All this old advice that you and I have heard of, right? So, I mean, what was the typical thing the baby boomers went through, right? Our parents' generation, they worked at jobs that they hated, that stressed them out, so that they could retire and 6 years later die.
Right. Which is horrible.
I didn't want that, right?
No, me either. I'm not built for that.
Yeah. And what's funny is baby boomers and Gen Xers look at millennials and they say, man, they just don't want to work. They're so lazy. They're entitled, da, 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 da. And, in fact, you and I have traded stories about millennials, and I've been the first one to say, look, man, if you felt screwed, if you felt like it was damn near hopeless, what values would you have? Well, it turns out millennials value experience more than anything else, right?
And I identify with that really good. I love going out and just doing stuff just to do it, just to experience it.
Yeah.
So I'm on that level.
Yeah. So, and we were talking about that. And we were like, you know what? Millennials don't have it half wrong, do they? Like, I mean,
well, it's a much better way to live, in my opinion.
If you could figure out a way of making money doing something you absolutely love, why wouldn't you do it? Maybe even you could become a millionaire doing it, right? But we've talked before about the fact that if we worked really, really hard, we could have a lot more money. But we are absolutely committed to having a no stress lifestyle, and paying all of our bills, enjoying what we like to do. As a matter of fact, I was telling a friend of mine, a few years ago, I made a declaration. I planted a flag, and I said, I've worked in corporate America. I played all the games. I was a very hard worker. I did all of the things that baby boomers told me to do. Sure enough, I'm now an entrepreneur, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to talk to people who I don't like. I don't want to talk. I don't want to deal with people who stress me out. So I planted a flag a couple of years ago, and that's exactly, I lived into it, man. And that's exactly the kind of life I have. I don't deal with people who I don't like because I have to, because I'm taking a paycheck, right?
Right.
And that's really at the heart of what you're doing, right? I mean, you are rocking it, doing what you absolutely love to do.
Yes. And hopefully doing it well. Well, I am. I mean, I've been self-employed for a long time. So, and there's a lot of stuff that I could do. I mean, there are things that I could go out there and do, and I could make a ton of money. But at the same time, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
So, and I want to enjoy life. So,
Yeah. So you're willing to take less so
hmm
that you can wake up every day and jump out of bed with a smile on your face instead of drag yourself out of bed thinking to yourself, it has begun again.
I don't have any problem getting started at work in the morning. In fact, I typically, our stuff officially opens. The business stuff that I'm involved in officially opens at like 9 o'clock my time, but 5 or 6 a.m. I already have it all open, and I'm out there doing stuff because I love it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's the name of the game for us. So, like I said, man, I mean, lot of baby boomers and Gen Xers love to wag their finger at millennials. But if you really think through what millennials have to go through and the stories that they were told, they might be onto something, right? I mean,
hmm
it's totally foreign to my parents to have a job, go they think in terms of having a job, trying to like what you do, and that's about as far as it goes. And God bless
hmm
them. I love them. They gave me a great life, right?
There are a lot of people who see. Not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur, and so there's many different types of people, and if everybody would was a entrepreneur, then I don't know how anything would ever get done. you know, because you need people to work for you, work with you, in order to expand things out. So, yeah, and I've run into that before, and I thought to myself when I was younger, I thought, man, these people are dumb. They could be doing all this stuff, and then I had to do their job. Like when they went on vacation, and I was working a job too. I shouldn't have been talking at all, and I had to do their job while they go on vacation, and then it's like I did their job, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad you're back, because it was crazy. I hated doing this stuff. So, you know,
Yeah, man. And how many of us can relate to that? That just not fun, not a fun time, not
hmm
a fun time.
hmm
And we're tied to the paycheck, right? And
yeah,
so, like, in defense of everyone who has been in that situation, it's just because that's the good values that our parents gave us. And God bless them for it, right? I mean, they really did their best to try to raise us right and give us the best shot of success as possible. And that was the advice that they had because that's the advice they were given and it kind of worked for them, right? So this is a new kind of way of thinking about how to be happy and make a living, right?
hmm hmm
So when we're talking about how to think like an entrepreneur,
right,
right?
right.
We want to think about in terms of how do we, what do we think is an opportunity, right? So you got some awesome stories that I'm not even going to try to compete with about finding opportunities, how you evaluated them, and how you proceeded, right?
hmm
So what we first have to do, we got to just take a step back here and say that non-entrepreneurs, they don't think that they put a lot of weight towards ideas that are brand new, that nobody else has done anything like it before. An entrepreneur hears that, and even though it might be a very, very good idea, an entrepreneur hears that and immediately thinks of something that most people don't think about, and that's risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
somebody wants to be a pioneer. The entrepreneur says, "What? What do you say when somebody wants to be a pioneer? They want to be the first person in the marketplace."
How much money you got? Because it takes a hell of a lot of money, and the risk is so high
Hmm.
because we all have good ideas. Bringing them to market is, you know, you ever watch Shark Tank? Because they
Love
talk
Shark.
sometimes on there about that they're not willing to invest in something that you see there as a very good idea. In Canada, it's Dragon's Den, same show, and they see this what Dragon's Den. Yeah, you like that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, they see this thing that's really good, but they're like, and they get it, but the cost of educating people on how to do it is they're not interested, so they pass up on a really good idea.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to do something that I should have done at the beginning of the show. Blaze Monger just called me out. I got to spit my gum out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you know how hard that is for me. I'm always chewing gum.
Yeah. You know, some people have ticks. He has gum.
Fine. I got gum. Yeah. There you go. I hope you're happy. Yeah. So we have there's a saying that goes along with that, right? And that is pioneers are the ones with the arrows in their backs. Right.
It's definitely harder.
Yeah. Cracking open a brand new market, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm not into that. Not, you know, you have to be very successful in what you're doing already to support bringing something new to market. You can't just have this great idea, because it could be a great idea, but you can't get it to come to market. So, you know, it's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah, and it's not that new ideas have never been executed into a brand new market. We're talking about overvaluating the possibility of success with a brand new idea. You know, you walk down the street and you find everybody's got a brand new idea that they want to, you know what, nobody's ever thought of doing before, yada, yada. Okay, well, how do you execute on it? And that's the next thing that, you know, even the Shark Tank guys will say, you know, they talk about, look, you know, idea is one thing, but execution is something completely different. And we have to start thinking in terms of how to do that stuff. And when entrepreneurs think about that, we think about the market. We think about who you're trying to sell to first. I do a lot of direct marketing, niche marketing stuff. So when it comes to who, I want to know exactly who. Like I don't have a budget like Coca-Cola, right? So I've got to be very, very precise in how I'm actually moving a new thing or even affiliate product to the market, right? Got to know the market, absolutely, positively. So those are kind of some of the differences between how entrepreneurs think versus everyone else in regards to opportunity. So when you started, when you saw an opportunity and you saw a fun thing to do that would make you money, right? You took a look and you said, is there anyone else doing this? Okay.
Right.
Great. What are they doing? Okay. I understand what they're doing. Now, how could I be different? Right. And that's actually what you did with your comic book idea.
Right.
And this is one of the reasons why I just can't compete with your stories, man. You are a rock star when it comes to this kind of stuff. This is one of my favorite stories, right? You went out there.
Think in these terms, and I can't help it.
Yeah, and I'm amazed by it. I'm absolutely amazed by it. So tell us all. So you took a look at comic book conventions?
Yeah, I was just at a comic book show because, well, I got lucky in the fact that I was into buying things that I could resell. I would buy stuff on Craigslist or whatever, and you know, and then you know somebody else that wanted to buy it, and I'd try and double my money or whatnot. And I somehow, and I don't even remember how I came across this, but there was a warehouse being cleaned out where the warehouse was built in the 1920s, and they found these boxes of comic books. And I bought a box that was completely sealed that had comic books in it. And it turned out to be the Green Llama, issue number 4. And this came out in like the 30s or something like that. And it was 4-color. And so it was a box of, I don't know, there was about 50 of them in the box. And I didn't know very much about it, but I knew that they were old. And I only paid like $100 for the box. It was some ridiculous price. I don't even remember how much. So I went and did a little research and found out that these comic books were worth a lot of money, and that there was actually, you know, only maybe a few hundred known in existence, and it was a predecessor to Green Lantern, and so it was a four series before Green Lantern, and he looked like Green Lantern and everything, and so I went up to a local comic book shop and I took just one, and I'm like, hey, you know, are you interested in this? And they look it up and they're salivating over it. And I think they offered me like $200 for it. And I'm like, ooh, this is just one, you know? And And so that got me the bug with comic books, because I knew that if I could find comic books that people wanted, that I could resell them at a profit. And so that kind of turned into me buying a whole bunch of comics. And so I caught the bug, like this collecting bug.
So now, at this point, did you think that this was going to be a business, or did you just want to buy comics?
I didn't think of it in terms of business. I thought of it in terms of that I was going to make money to do some of the other things I wanted to do. And I found comic books fascinating. I'll admit, I'm not a comic book reader. I mean, yes, I've read some of them, but it just doesn't excite me. But commerce excites me, and I can do it with a fun product. It's kind of like paying video games and getting paid for it. It's the same kind of thrill. And so, so I started buying all these comic books, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to a comic book show. And I bought somebody's table out near the end of the show of all of their comics, and they were just some private collector or whatnot. And I made him an offer, and I had made a few $100 from these other comics, which I had that box of them, and I didn't tell anybody that all of a sudden there was another 30 in existence or something like that, and it was known to be like less than 500 or something like that, and they were all in 100% pristine condition, because they had been in this box this whole time. And I mean, they're yellow around the edges, but they'd all just been smashed together, and just, yeah, it was perfect. I wish I still had one, because it'd be great to have it framed and up on my wall. But so I don't know, I bought several hundred comics from somebody. And then I went through and I started pricing all of them. And I'm like, this is really hard work. Because you're going through all of them. They already had mostly prices on them and stuff. But I went through and priced them all, and I thought, okay. So I accurately evaluated them and stuff. And then we went to a comic book show, and they weren't really selling.
All right. So hold that thought right there. All right.
Uh-huh.
So I just want to point out one tiny little thing.
What?
So this is where everyone listening can actually start doing this, right? Because this opportunity is still available, right? Like, people, like, we live in the Southeast United States. I don't think that any of the comic book vendors know about your little trick.
No,
So
they
you
don't.
could actually do this, right? So here's
The market's a little bit different now, but this can be done with any item.
okay.
It could be baseball cards. It could be, I don't know, spoons or whatever. Some people collect spoons, or knives or whatever. Anything collectible. That you can get in volume.
Okay. So so Clone 357 said, he worked at a card shop, and that was his main job, like pricing that stuff all day long, right? And so my heart goes out to you, man. And by the way, as soon as I hear an entrepreneur say, okay, this is just way too much work, I know that there's money coming. Like, there's a money story coming, because entrepreneurs are naturally lazy.
I did turn it into money.
And you turned it into money. So
yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay. So I got tired of pricing all of them, and I decided that, okay, whatever, the price that's on them is fine. And we went to our first show to sell these, and I wasn't getting too much traction. And I had some of my more expensive comics up on this board in the back, whatnot, and so I'm like, I don't know, this just isn't working out quite the way I thought. And I'm like, okay, let's change something with how we look at this. And I just tested. And in fact, that's what I do a lot. And you guys who watch my shows with, playing Eve or whatnot, you guys see me test stuff, and you guys are going, oh, he's so dumb for testing it. But the thing is, I'm learning through failure and through success of these things, what works and what doesn't. And it's a fine-tuning of those things. And once you hit that spot, it goes kaboom. And I did that with the comic books. And so the next comic book show, I decided that we were going to try something different. We were going to sell comics as a commodity. And so instead of each individual comic being worth so much money, I cherry-picked a few of the really high-priced things out of the collections that I had, and we put them up on the back wall, and that was the price. and everything that was on them. But then everything else out there, we put up this big sign that said like every comic $5. And you're thinking to yourself, why would anybody buy a comic for $1 when they're paying $5 for it? Well, what happened is that I knew that we had a lot of comics in there that were $10, $15, and $20 valuations. And I knew that people would find those and they would love to get them at $5. But then they also see this other comic that was $2 that helped fill out a collection that they had of another series or whatever. So, okay, well, I'll buy that too because I'm already saving $10 on this other comic. And they walk up with stacks like this and I'll be like, okay, $100 please. And they'd be like, here it is. So, and that worked. But then, they kind of, the stock starts to run low and you can't continue to sell everything at $5 when you only have, $5 comics left or below. So let's lower the price. Everything $3. New sign up. Everything $3. Do that for another hour. Okay. So we've sold a bunch more and we're just doing the same thing over and over again. So everything $2. And then, we're starting to get near the end of the show and everything $1. And we got this frenzy. We've got so many people that are at the tables there that security came over to us and told us to tell people not to stand in line. Well, because there's like a fire exit over there or whatnot. And I'm like thinking to myself, wait, what? Because it's my job to attract people in. If they want an aisleway there, then they need to tell people to take a hike, not me. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't remember how we dealt with that.
I'm sorry. You're the business owner, and you're supposed to shoo people away from your table.
Right.
Where you're selling stuff.
Right. And so that was pretty cool and everything. And then I'm like, okay, we're getting near the end of the show. I want to sell all this stuff because I know it's all like couple dollar comics. So then the sign goes up saying $100 a box. And not only that, when they walk up and say, well, okay, maybe I can fit as many comics in there, and they got the box down, and they're where it's, just where they're putting in the comics upright. And I'm like, no, let me show you how to really stack a box. So I add extra value to it, tip it up on its side, and let the weight of all the comics hold it. So it squishes it down. So they're not sitting there trying to keep squishing new comics in. And they actually would fit like 120 comics in a 100 comic box doing that. But.
So but like at the end of the day, slowly but surely throughout the show, you first started out by doing something that nobody else at the show did, and we're talking about professional comic book store owners who are running, a table right next to you, right? Maybe they have a whole shop full of comics. Mm-hmm. You treated the comic books like they were all commodities.
Right.
It's just commodity.
Yeah, it's like selling peanuts or whatever. Buy them in bulk and resell them at a higher price or whatever.
Yep. Nobody's trying to identify the exact value of every single peanut. Although you do want to keep an eye on them to make sure there isn't one out there that outstandingly is worth more than
a most excellent peanut.
Yeah, a most excellent. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then okay, so we're selling out. And so I go around to the other people that are selling stuff there, and mostly hitting up the private parties, and because there are vendors there who own comic book stores and everything, but mostly I'm going to the private parties, and I'm making offers, and I'm looking at their comics and everything, and I see they have 1,000 comics there, and I'm like, okay, I'll give you $400 for everything. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know. And they might talk me up to like $450, maybe $500. And then I buy all of them and, start carting everything over. So then I end up doing that with several people. And I did this at multiple shows and everything. And so I'd been doing this for about a year and doing this at multiple shows and everything. And it got to the point where I was renting a U-Haul truck each time to ferry all the comics in and out. And we were like, I don't know. I don't even know how many comics we had. And we have like 5 tables, which is a lot at a, show like this and stuff. And big signs and everything. And just replicating this over and over again. And so, I was doubling my money and doubling the amount of comics. So I'd go with 1,000, I'd come back with 2,000. And and then I would, and that initial comics I had paid maybe $1,000 for, and I had $2,000 in my pocket too, and so it was a doubling both ends, and so it was really great, but there is another thing to evaluating an idea, which is sustainability. And while I could have continued to take these comics and looked at them as a commodity and everything, what happened is they started refusing my money to buy tables.
So the organizations themselves said, we don't want you here.
Well, and it was because the other companies, the businesses that were selling comics, that were comic book shops, they started saying, is Marcus going to be there? And if I was, then they didn't want to come. Or they were complaining or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So
all your competition essentially complained about you so loudly to the event holder that the event holder just had no choice but to say sorry.
Right. And this was in Portland, Oregon, and I started doing shows as far up as almost up in Canada, and as far south as San Francisco. And so I was like renting a U-Haul truck and carting all of these comics, to these places and stuff. And it was worth my time. And to the question of how much did it cost for the tables, I don't know, they were $100 each, something like that. Which, at a $100 booth, it made way more than that in sales. So, and when you run out when the boxes get empty on top, you pull the other ones out from underneath and set them on top. Do I have life insurance? Yeah. Well, another time I'll tell you about the story of threats from competition saying they were going to firebomb my store.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, the police got a hold of that, and they had a little talk with him, and he gave me a nice apology. But it was real legitimate competition. So
who I guess you really made angry.
Right, and I didn't even know it. So
wow. Well, I got to tell you, that perfectly describes how to evaluate an opportunity, right? So you didn't get out there and say, well, I'm going to be like the only one selling comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You said there are people already selling them, people are already buying them, they're freely available to me. It's just a numbers game at that point in time. How much do you have to invest, and can you spend a weekend doing it?
Right, and I could have looked at it just the same and still made money, buying in bulk and then selling onesie twosies or whatnot and having the right stuff. But you ended up with all this filler. You ended up with all these extra comics that weren't hardly worth anything, and then you can't sell them at shows. And what do you do with them? Well, you blast them out the way I did.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of thinking for a product that's normally sold, and this could be applied to all kinds of things. I mean, literally, I don't know. I don't have an example off the top of my head of what else could be applied to, but anything
that is not being sold as a commodity.
Right.
As long as the numbers work in your favor, you can sell anything that isn't being sold. I mean, I say anything, but I mean, really, it's a lot of things that aren't being currently sold as commodity. What you do is we call it bundling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you bundled it. You bundled valuable comics with ones that weren't super valuable, right?
Yeah.
So, and I see Pablo RSA says the spreadsheet life, right?
Oh.
Reminds me of what you were telling me about Eve, right? So if you can make money in Eve, you can do it in real life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right? That's why I find the game so attractive.
Yeah, and you have on countless occasions told me, man, it's a spreadsheet game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a spreadsheet game. And I've told you before, I've tried. I just don't have the time to invest in Eve. I'll pick up Soda, or one of the other games that we're playing, but man, I mean, I am continuously impressed with the stuff that you do in Eve.
If I didn't have a business relationship with the game publisher and be supporting them with other business activities, our sales that we do for them, then I would have to give up Eve if I wanted to do this stuff in real life.
Wow, yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's very
Yeah.
very interesting. So you also had, from what I'm to understand, a computer store.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So when I think of a computer store, I think like I'm going to have to spend money on rent, and it's going to, get some place that's a
well,
retail shop.
I want to back up to our other
Okay.
story here
All right.
because I want to talk for just a moment about the product that we're working on, and I want to mention how it can tie in to comic books. And so the product that we're working on, which is exclamation point no job in Twitch chat, so there's a link in the description in YouTube, is about how to play video games and get paid for it by publishing videos on YouTube and other stuff, because like the advertising money that you make off of that isn't what really makes the money. And that's what we're doing in this. And you can't buy it yet. You can only sign up on our list to be alerted when it's available, and it'll be available in a couple of weeks. So, but what I want to say is that this kind of entrepreneurial look at things, of course, we're not turning videos into a commodity or video games into a commodity, but there's this way of looking at things differently is what we're doing with this product. And that someone who's creative could look at the product that we've got here and see what we've done, which is to take these business philosophies and processes and practices and apply it towards playing video games and getting paid for it. Whereas if I applied that same thing to the comic books, the product could be how to buy and sell comic books for fun and profit, or
Hmm.
something like that. And then we just interject, comic books, and some of the technology terms. We just talk a little bit differently about the technology. And and I think to myself, holy shit, what if I had a video camera back then and I could take and start recording and go, hey, I think I'm going to sell comic books in a different way. And I could I could do a vlog type video about that. And I'd be like, first show done, bam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
second show done, bam, look at that, I doubled my money. And
Yeah.
so then third show, people are pissed off at me. I don't know why. And and just imagine, would you guys be interested in watching a video series that's like, it's like reality TV? Hang out with Marky while he sells comic books and look at the drama. Look at people getting pissed off at him, wanting to blackball him in the industry, and they did successfully. But now you all can take that idea to your local comic book show, record it, film it, and go bam, bam, bam with a whole bunch of episodes and knock everybody's socks off, and you can take credit for the whole thing. So do sign up. It's exclamation point no job in Twitch chat, and there's a link in the description in YouTube. And that whole philosophy is exactly what we're teaching here. We're just applying it to this first product this way, and we're going to apply it to others after this. And we're going to do intermediate and advanced stuff with our first one here as well. So, but I just, I can totally see this in my head of being able to do that and how much fun that would be. Because I like comic books, I like commerce, I like video.
Yeah, I'm
Triple
constantly
play.
amazed by, when we're hanging out. Like I could just see the wheels turning constantly. You're just constantly, and then every once in a while, you will lean over and you'll say, "Hey, that would make a really good episode right there." People would, and I'll just look at you in amazement. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't even, where did that come from? I didn't even think
Mm-hmm.
about that. Yeah, good. Yeah,
Mods, go a little easier on people in chat. Some of the comments here, they're just getting excited about stuff, not being cruel. I don't think so. Okay, so okay, now
so so that's how you illustrated. You just illustrated how to evaluate the comic book route, right?
hmm hmm
Selling comic books in a different way. I'm
right.
assuming you did the same thing with the computer store.
I did, and you know what? That got me in so much trouble too.
and I'm not surprised to hear it, but I got to tell you, man, every time I think of computer store, I mean, I've got a buddy who owns one, and he's constantly shelling out big bucks for retail space, product. I mean, employees are killing him because he can't afford to pay, high end wages to people who
Mm-hmm.
just kind of come in and fix computers. So they're constantly not showing up and leaving for better pay.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you didn't like that's not how you started though, right?
Well, I was a bus driver when I started my computer store
Okay.
stuff. Or actually, I had been a bus driver, a city bus driver. I had a great job. I mean, I was in a union. I was full time. And unions, you can just be a total fuck off and still survive. It's just really incredible. It just amazed me at the dumb shit that my coworkers did and still be able to do that. And Gobbledygook, I see that you subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. Duke isn't barking out right now for this show, and I'm going to hook you up with gold and everything after we end this. So, um, so the I was making a lot of money already at 24. I was the youngest driver to ever be hired. I was actually hired at TriMet in Portland to drive a bus before I was legally able to drive a bus, if that makes sense.
Really?
Yeah, because I'd been driving truck for multiple years before that, since I was 18. And so I'd driven semi trucks and everything, because in Oregon you could drive them within the state. You just couldn't cross boundaries and cross state lines. And it's who you know, which we're gonna get. I'm sure we're gonna talk about who you know in future episodes. But my father knew the GM, the general manager, which is a guy who's not elected, but like the board elects. The board of this institution elects or hires this person. And he's the top dog. He's like the CEO. And my dad knew him. And I wanted to drive a bus. I wanted to move up. I wanted to get out of driving freight and start driving people. And I was looking for that security in and stuff, as and I was 20 at the time. And so he contacted him, got me an interview like 2 months before I was 21. And then I got through the interview and they hired me, and I started training because I could drive it while training. I couldn't take passengers, but I could drive it, during training. And it was literally like right after my 21st birthday is when I graduated training and was on the road, like 3 days after my 21st birthday. Holy cow. Put a 21-year-old in front of all these people. That's personal safety. You should see some of the shit I did. But so I had this great job, but I was always doing computers on the side. And I was we had a local memory manufacturer that they actually had these things that were factory seconds. And I would buy up the factory seconds where the chips had been smeared on their stuff. It wasn't that the piece was defective. It was that it got smeared and they didn't know what it was. And so I would buy these in bulk. So I'd buy like a box of computer memory for like $1,000, and it would have like $3,000, $4,000 worth of memory in it. And all I had to do was stick it in machines and figure out what it was, and then make up matched pairs, because back then you had to have them in sets and everything. And then I was selling them on Craigslist. And
So did you pretty much figure that that's what you're going to do when you were buying them?
Yeah. I mean, I saw the opportunity because someone else sold me some of them. See, the ideas for doing this stuff, sure, I had the idea that I should do this stuff, but I learned it by watching somebody else do it. Why do you think gas stations pop up across the street from each other? It's not because somebody has a brand new idea. It's because there's a market and they see the need for it there. And so I knew that I can drive sales. And so I'm like, okay, this guy's doing it. So why don't I try it? And so I bought a box. And I put all the shit together and I sell it all, and I have pieces left over that are don't have any pairs or whatnot, and but I still sold it all for like $3,000 and then had all these extras. So I'm like, well, I better buy another couple of boxes to match up these other ones so I can get the value out of them, and just kept doing that. And I became like known as a person that people could get memory from on Craigslist, and I was getting all kinds of calls and stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And I really, I had, when I was when I was a bit younger, I'm like, I want to go do computers. That's what I really thought I wanted to do, but nobody would hire me because I had no experience. And so
well, hold on. Let me just process something for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You went out and you bought stuff. In this case, it was computer memory, RAM, I'm assuming.
Memory,
so you bought a bunch of RAM. And back then, I remember you had to have exactly the same kinds of, and bus speed and all of that stuff had to be matched up.
Yeah.
So it was a real pain, I'm sure, to like have to go through every single one of them.
It's hard even when they're labeled.
Yeah.
So,
I get that. That. But you bought your initial box at $1,000, did you say?
Something like that. I mean, I'm just pulling that number out of thin air because that was a long time ago. I don't remember.
Okay, so
but I wouldn't have bought more if I didn't make money.
Got it. So you bought so you risked $1,000 to see if you could sell something.
Yes.
Right? So you didn't just charge in to a market and say, you know what, I'm going to go and do all this stuff.
I didn't have any risk.
Well,
I mean, if you think about it, this other person was already doing this. I just decided to do it better and bigger.
But you didn't know if you could do it. You believed you could do it, but you didn't know you could do it.
Well, you only know it afterwards. But
yes, that's exactly right. And my point is that's I think what stops a lot of people. A lot of people get stopped by not knowing they can do it, but thinking they might be able to do it, but then they get scared and they don't.
So one of the things in our product that we have for the YouTube stuff, it has in there. Didn't we define an entrepreneur in there? And wasn't that definition inherently someone who takes risks?
Yeah, which we both agreed that wasn't 100% true.
Well, it's true about me, but
you manage your risk.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So so that's what I'm saying here too. So you see that as a risk, that I took a risk. I saw that as, I know how to test memory. I know how to get the product. I know how to do sales. The only variable is, will I get enough pairs out of this to make money?
Awesome.
And I figured it all out.
Yeah, got it. And that's kind of a magical formula there, right? I guess is what I'm saying. Because a lot of people will come up with an idea and they'll want to do this whole huge thing before they make their first sale.
Right.
They'll want to build the whole business before the first sale is made. And that's not how we think. We think in terms of validating the market, testing. We want to test everything. When you and I started working on this product, right, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. We both kind of agreed, you know what, it's going to be the price of a video game and not even that expensive of a video game. And as we started building it, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And before we knew it, now everybody I tell what's all in this package, they're all like, why are you only charging that amount?
I know. But we kind of set that price as the entry, so.
Yeah, we figured, you know what? We're still we're going to test. We're going to see if anybody's interested in this. We are. For what it's worth, right? But in any case, not to drone on about that. I didn't want to distract you, but I really wanted to hear how you were thinking about the process when you bought that memory initially. So thank you. Thank you very much. So now you've done it once, and now you're doing it regularly.
Right.
What's going through your mind at that point?
Well, just what's the next step? Because I had a single source for product, and so if anything happened, and in the computer industry, stuff turns over so quick and everything. I mean, the next product comes out, the old one is off the shelf and everything. Nobody wants it anymore. And so I knew that I had to, if I wanted to sustain doing business in this area, it couldn't be from this one source. Sure, ride the wave while it lasts, but it couldn't, and it eventually did dry up. So eventually, I think they figured out what I was doing, and somebody internally just started snatching it all up. So gotcha. I'm sure that another employee just said, "Oh no, fuck that! I'm the one who has to sell it to him. I'm going to sell it to myself."
Yeah, yeah.
So I would do that.
Sure.
And see, so my supply dried up because he did the same thing I did to the other person.
Yes.
Which was just copy it and do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember now. Okay, I'm going to date myself here. How many of you here had subscriptions or bought Computer Shopper magazine?
Wow.
The sucker was huge.
Wow.
It'd be 500 pages in a magazine, and you'd pay like what, $10 for it or something like that. But you know what? I would buy this, and I waited with bated breath for this to come out every month, and I would buy this, and I would take it with me on my bus, and so when I was at the end of the line, I would sit and read Computer Shopper magazine. Okay. I mean, who reads a fucking Sears catalog for pleasure?
Yeah.
Only somebody who's looking to buy.
Wow.
And so, boy, I'm getting too excited. My voice is starting to go here. I don't have any cough drops here either. Lisa, if you're listening, will you bring me a cough drop? That'd be awesome. Okay. I don't know if she's listening or not.
Okay.
So...
you can have some water.
Well, I've got some here. So I was reading this, and basically what I learned from that was all the pricing of everything from, what things cost and what people were willing to sell them for. This was the internet in book form. So now we go to Amazon or we go to bestpricewhatever.com or whatever, and we just go there, and that's where we shop. And this was where you found that. So this was like flipping through pages of the internet, and then you had to like call them, and then they would ship you stuff. I mean, this is old days.
Yeah.
But I learned all the pricing on that stuff. And so then I'm like, okay, this is what is selling because these people are advertising it the most. This must be about what the cost is because these are the lowest prices that I see, and people have lost leaders. So they'll have one focused product that's at cost or a little bit below cost, and then everything else is regular price, and it's to get people in the door.
So they're hopeful that enough people come in to buy that product that those people will buy that product and something else so that they can make money.
Right.
Because
right.
if everybody just came in, bought that one lost leader product that they're not making any money on, the store doesn't make any money.
So, thank you. Ricola! Oh. Product endorsement.
That's what I was going to say.
Not really.
New sponsor of the show, right?
Yeah. So, yes, we do read chat. I have seen some questions there, and we're doing our best we can on them. Oh, this thing looks weird. This thing looks like a giant booger or something that I'm going to put in my mouth.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying it. So, okay. I know it looked weird, huh? Okay. I don't know. It's some natural. These are natural.
Okay.
Okay, worse than chewing gum. I'm going to suck on this lozenge.
Fair enough.
Okay. So anyway, so I look at this stuff and I'm like, okay, I think I can buy this stuff and I can resell it, or I can start building computers out of this stuff. And so then I add my fee of building the computer. And so I wasn't making very much money on the actual hardware, but when it came to building the computer, I would put together, it'd be like $250 and I would put together the computer for you. and I made a little bit of money on the parts, but not a whole lot. So that seemed to work, and so I wanted to take that to the next level. I took a sabbatical from my bus driving job. I said to them, I've got this idea, I want to try it, but I want a safety net. Will you give me 6 months off to go and try and do my dream here of opening my own business? And I went out and I did that. I had a couple of months rent in my pocket. I had initial know-how of how to build the computers. I had someone that I hired that was good at operating things or whatnot. And, so I kind of went into this and I'm like, okay, let's just do it. And so I did it.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but this is really kind of cool. Like, you did the computer repair stuff and the memory stuff while you had a full-time job, right?
Yes.
So you kept your cash flow going, which is number one rule in business and being an entrepreneur, right? So you kept the lights on, and you just did this on the side. And because you didn't freaking hate it, it was easy for you to do because you liked it.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Right? It was almost like a hobby.
It was I guess so. I was enjoying the stuff so much that you don't think about how many hours you're putting into it. So,
gotcha. That's powerful right there. That's powerful. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So, and with that said, anybody can mitigate their risk to go out and try something. So, what if you could save at your job while you're working, while you're kind of proving things, evenings and weekends, and you can save money so that you can make this leap? What if you could save 6 months worth of basic living expenses? Or what if you could cut down your living expenses? Move into a room for rent instead of that whole house you've got, or whatever, so that you can put money into your venture and try and do it. And that's what I did. So they kind of begrudgingly gave me that 6 months. They didn't really want to do that because they put a lot of time and energy into me. I'm a commodity for them, a bus driver, and it just took a lot. So and so anyway, I opened this computer store, and I invite my clients who I'd already been building computers for on the side, and just said, come on down, check us out, tell your friends if you liked the stuff, and we started getting business right away, and we were getting enough business to support myself and one other person, and it was working out. So, sorry, I got this lozenge in my mouth for anybody who's just joining. I hear it on my teeth while I'm talking. Yeah.
So I spit my gum out, and you put a lozenge in. Okay,
right.
What's the justice?
Right. Yeah. Huh? Then other businesses started contacting me, and we actually got some business agreements with, building for different companies and stuff, and but then also advertising came to us, and there was this magazine called Computer Bits in Portland, and they had been going for about 5 years or whatnot, and they talked me into getting a full page ad for our store. And I don't know how much it was. It was like $500, $700 or something like that for this, and it was just a local market, but that's fine. And that really seemed like a big risk to me. So but we did it. And then we got a whole bunch of people in because of this. And then OPB came to us, which was Oregon Public Broadcasting. And they said, hey, we like what you're doing. Will you be a sponsor of some of our radio shows? And that was a very interesting learning experience because public broadcasting doesn't do ads. They just have supporters and sponsors. And so everything had to be worded in very particular ways. But then we started doing that. And then what happened was we actually advertised on the classical stations. And so people with money came in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great
Isn't it?
opportunity right there.
Who knew that people who
Yeah.
listen to classical music have money and
Yeah.
they're respectful and they're highly educated? Holy shit. you know?
That's awesome.
So
That's
so we
awesome.
did that, and and I remember after 6 months, I contacted them and I said, well, you can hold it open for another 6 months if you want, but really, I think I'm doing okay here.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't like they were paying you for 6 months. They
No.
just agreed not to fire you.
Yes.
They agreed
Yes.
to let you go and not replace you,
Right.
which actually is kind of a big deal for a company. I mean, that's kind of a cool thing for a company to do.
They're very big. If it had been a small company with 5 or 6 drivers or something like that, it'd been a totally different story. But
Gotcha.
because we had 1,500 drivers or what like that, it didn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Gotcha.
so I then we did something, and so I may as well tell you guys what I mentioned before about the firebomb threats. And so in Computer Bits magazine, I decided that let's treat this differently. I'd just been charging for the labor before. Why not just charge for the labor again? And how much profit do you really need to make on an item to cover labor? I figured maybe 10%. So, but then if you wanted the computer built, you buy all these parts and you want the computer built, there's another charge for building it. And so that was how we did it. And I took out these ads that caused me so much heat, and I was so naive about it. But I took out the center pages, 2 pages, and it was titled "We show you the cost, you add 10%." And so I listed all of our products there at our cost. When that came out, our wholesalers immediately called me and said, "You can't do that." And I'm like,
Wait,
"Which ones you?"
the people who were supplying you.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's
Well,
interesting.
they called me because my competition was calling them saying, "This is fucked up. He's publishing your price lists."
Oh, wow.
And so then
Okay.
they come back to me and they say, "You can't do that. This is a violation of our terms of our contract." And I'm like, "Okay, which products are yours? I have multiple suppliers." So none of these say your name on them or anything. And by this time, I was buying like $10,000 worth a day from each one of these guys. And they didn't want to give that up. That was a lot of money for a local place.
Sure.
Yeah, I
So
was
you were,
doing.
so you were bringing the volume. So
Yeah.
you had the chops to, not have to go hat in hand and ask them, beg them, or whatever.
We had a van that would go out daily, and he'd sometimes have to make 2 or 3 trips, and he would completely fill the van with computer parts and bring them back from the local wholesalers.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
and we were doing, I think, around $250,000 a month in sales at this point. And so, if you think about it, the 10% on the top of it, and then transaction fees, a little bit of fraud and stuff, we still have 5% left over. But everybody needed their computer built. So 250, and I wish I still had these. I wish I still had pictures of what our place looked like. But we would get, I kid you not, like 30 to 40 computers in a day to be worked on. And we didn't have room to put all of them. And so we had this giant room that we built all of our computers in. We had all the labs, set up around the walls. And we would build this pyramid of the work for the day. We'd set them all on their sides, and we'd build it sometimes 6 feet tall, just this giant pyramid of all these computers. And then you just take them off from the top, and you just go through, and nobody left until they were all done, type of thing.
Wow.
And then we had this hallway that was about 30 feet long that we'd stand them up on end, and we lined them all the way up down the hallway with their paperwork taped to the front of them to go back out. And sometimes we would have to double stack because we had so many computers waiting for people. And we were charging $50 an hour. So it was amazing.
Wow.
We had all kinds of money coming in. But
So what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to at some point in time change things up and talk about failures, right? Because you make
Because I've never had any failures.
yeah, well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm just thinking about like this awesome success story, and there's only so much you can learn about a success story, and there's like everybody wants to tell you about like how successful they are, and I've had success here and success there. I for the past 10 years, especially when I was starting out, I didn't want to hear success stories. I wanted to hear failures. I wanted to hear
Interesting.
like, what did you do that completely screwed up the deal that you wished you could go back and not do it. I'd rather learn from their mistakes than buy the home run story that everybody wants to
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and this one did spin out of control eventually. But I'll leave that for another story,
Okay,
another
yeah,
time.
fair enough, fair enough. But one of the things I wanted to really wanted to acknowledge you for, man, is how you started with the computer store, right? You had a safety net for 6 months, so just in case
Mm-hmm.
you could have gone back to your job, right? In case the cash flow dried up, and you
Mm-hmm.
just charged forward, man, and you never overextended yourself. You never bought into some kind of dream that that companies often sell people who are looking to be entrepreneurs. Buy the dream and spend a lot of money, and then figure out if you can sell something or not.
So there's a saying: why work for somebody else for 40 hours a week when you can work for yourself 80?
Yeah,
That is an entrepreneur.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally true. It's
Mm-hmm.
totally
Mm-hmm.
true. But if you like what you're doing, right? It's really not. It's not.
It was exhausting, but I loved it. And we had to keep opening up earlier and earlier every morning. We were opening up at 8 o'clock in the morning. A freaking computer store. Most computer stores, mom and pop shops, opened up at noon. Noon to 6 or noon to 7, noon to 8, something like
Yeah.
that. And we were opening up at 8 a.m. and because we kept having a line out front of people waiting to get in. And finally, 8 a.m., I'm like, that's the earliest we're going to open. And there was still a line. We could have opened at 6 a.m. and maybe had people there. And we were open until like 8 or 9 o'clock at night every night. And and so it was really nuts. But, you know, so let me get back to the advertising because that's what did it.
Okay.
So word of mouth. Okay, so doing good business and being honest with people and doing good work is the first and foremost. But the second thing is advertising. And so I was doing these ads and it got so much heat, literally, that my competition, one of the guys called me and he left a voicemail late one night. And he said, "You got to stop this shit. If you're killing my business. I can't compete because everybody wants to go and buy their parts at your place and then bring them over to me to build it." And he's like, "I ain't about that. They're not buying nothing from me." And he was upset
Wow.
about it. And
Wow.
and so and I don't think I had ever met him before. And but I knew of who he was based on he had another competing computer company, mom and pop shop. And so he left this threatening voicemail that basically said, "Stop it, or you're going to find your shop firebombed." And I'm like, whoa, that changes the whole thing there. That's not just, knock it off. That
Yeah.
is a real threat.
Yeah.
And so I called the police and they came down. They heard the voicemail. They're like, and this is back when we had him on tape.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And so they're like, "Can we have that tape?" I'm like, "Sure." And they tracked the guy down. And the next day, I had a voicemail from him saying that he was going to call me later in the day. "Please accept my call. I want to apologize." And I know that he's like, "I know I was wrong and everything." And he's like, "I don't have a criminal record. I don't need one. I was just really passionate and everything. And I was just being dumb. I'd had a couple of drinks after work when I left the message." And he's like, "Please forgive me. And how can we talk about you changing your advertising?"
Oh my God.
So,
Even after that. Even after
well,
that.
yeah. So, and I think that we did not change our advertising. And I don't remember what I said to him, but I remember that he did not firebomb the place, and I remember that the police were involved. And you know, so, but we did that for a couple of years of showing the cost. You add 10%, and that worked very successfully. I mean, it just spun way out of control, but we will talk about that another time because there's a lesson to be learned from the success and there's lessons to be learned from the failure. And so one of these days we're going to do a failure show.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a bad episode of Perry Mason, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like I said, for the past couple of years, I've learned 10 times more from people's failure stories. And by the way, if you get a chance to talk to someone who's successful, and you ask them about some of their epic failures, you'll get. I'm not going to say you're going to get the truth, but you'll have a higher likelihood of getting the truth because they're not used to talking about their failures. Mm-hmm, so you're kind of putting them on the spot a little bit, and this is all while they're very well practiced at talking about their success. You know,
yes.
they'll tell you how successful they've been and all of how smart they are and all the things they've done. You know
it's
there's
funny,
only so much. I'm sorry.
It's funny that you bring this up in this way, because I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of industry people in the video game industry, and I always ask them about failures.
Do you?
Yes.
That's
yes.
smart.
But I always end the interview on successes and wins.
Good.
But we get into the failures because that is where you'll learn, and those are some of my most popular videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, who knew you could make money from being a failure? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. We're actually well over our time. Are you good to go some more here?
I have another 10 minutes.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, then.
Mean, I'll hang with you as long as I can, but I know for a fact I've got 10 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
How much time? How much more time after that?
Yeah, because we had one other thing on the list, but I guess we're going to have to save it for the next show.
What was the one other thing?
Well, I'll highlight it here in our document. So.
Oh, yeah, we should totally talk about that.
We do not have 10 minutes to talk about that.
Okay. How long do we need? Hold on.
We're going to do it next episode. I think that there's a reason that you guys are all going to want to come back for the next episode.
Yeah, no, that's a good one because everybody can relate.
So because I'm going to bring it all back around to video games, and about how the huge success that I had with video games and getting paid to play, and it's not the getting paid to play on YouTube product that we're working on. This is I was making money other ways, and so.
Well, Orion Shock really wants to know.
Yeah.
Just tease. Just a little tease.
So I figured out that virtual items within video games had value and started making a ton of money selling them. Enough attention came from this that I was on CNN, I was in the New York Times, Wired Magazine wrote about us, I think, 5 times. One time was cover article, and then just a lot of other stuff happened with that. And I'd love to tell that story because it does fit into thinking like an entrepreneur and finding opportunities. It's a classic one of a brand new market that nobody else had done. And so, but it was just taking things and putting them together to, this person over here is doing this person over here is doing this. What if you put them together? Well, shit, they're both successful.
So I take it,
bam, you got something new.
So I take it because of that discovery and what you've been doing for the past few years, there are some, shall we say, golden nuggets that we can use, like we could with the comic book story, where we can actually go and do something. I
think so.
Okay, I think so is good enough. I'll take it. It.
So, okay, now at the beginning of the show, we talked just a little bit about the, what kicked off this show, and it's because Jordan and I have been working on this product, taking kind of our entrepreneurial methodologies, philosophies, formulas on how we've been successful and applying it to something that I know very well that people want. And, who here, does not play video games? Maybe there's a couple of you here who don't. But wouldn't it be awesome to be able to get paid to play video games? And again, who doesn't want that? So I am teaching how I have taken, my position in the video game industry and marriaged it with live shows and with YouTube and everything, and put it all together into this package, which teaches you how to get paid to play video games. And so it's !no job in Twitch chat, and there's a link in the description in YouTube where you can sign up for this. Now, Jordan, do we want to, how deep do you want to go into what this product is? And what is it? Okay, why sign up now instead of waiting 2 weeks for when we do our next show? Our next show is going to be in 2 weeks. And the product is going to launch right about then or right before then. And so what are they going to get now by signing up that they won't have available at the next show?
So we want to reward action takers, right? So there are already a couple hundred people who have raised their hand and said, I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I don't like it when I get a game that's in beta, and I don't get treated any differently than anyone else who bought after it's out. I think that if I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to be one of the first people in, that I'd like to get rewarded for that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that's what we're bringing to bear with this, right? So people who are actually jumping on board, getting on the list right now, we're going to make an exclusive live webinar just for them, where it's going to be a little bit more of an open forum. They get to determine the topics that we talk about. Instead of you and I coming up with a curriculum and doing a live webinar, they get to actually have a voice. We actually will listen to what they actually ask for.
And for everybody who's here, who, because you guys are all used to watching stuff live on YouTube or live on Twitch, and a webinar is a little bit different. It's live like this, but it's in a closed environment where not anybody can get into this. And so these webinars, the first one, we're going to talk about what you guys need and want in regards to, getting paid to play video games, so that we can cover those topics on the future webinars. And so the first one probably won't be saved. Probably I don't know that it'll be saved or whatnot, because it's going to be you guys telling us what you need and want, and then the official webinars that happen after that will be saved. You'll have access to all of them, and then we're going to be going over your needs and wants, and other people will bring up new stuff that'll be in there, because there'll be more people in there by then, but their stuff just goes on another list that comes after that.
Yeah. So we're gonna do more than one webinar, right? But the first group of people get a lot of say. In fact, probably more so than anybody else, as to what kind of topics they are most interested in hearing about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as we go on, it's going to be a product, but you're going to be a member essentially if you sign up for it, right?
Right.
And man, I think membership should have its own rewards, right? So the earlier you get in, I think you should be treated a little bit better than the people who come in way late into the game.
And
right?
speaking of membership, now we have a Facebook group for this show.
Yeah.
How many people have we got in there already?
Well, since I've been talking to you, I haven't.
I just announced it this morning.
Ah.
And
okay. All right.
And so now there are.
So we have 125 members. It looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So just announced it this morning, and we've got. So this is a closed group. Is this going to remain closed? I don't remember.
It's going to remain closed, and let me tell you something.
You have to apply to get in.
This may turn into a closed secret group, so that you can't even find it on Facebook. Like the only way that you could even find out that it's here is by watching Marky Dragon's channel.
So
right?
basically, we're gonna bring up some topics and stuff, for future shows and everything, and we're all entrepreneurs in there, and there are in fact entrepreneurs in that group right now that are industry giants. So I already have some in there. These are people who are levels and levels beyond where any of us are at right now. So, so I don't know if you guys can see the names of who's in there, but you'll be shocked if you start Googling people.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, we literally just created the group. So I wanted to populate it with something. I used to do a podcast called the Weird Ass News. So
yeah, and you got weird ass news in there, all right.
That's right.
Mobile strippers. What the hell? Pole dancers or whatever.
That's right. Hey, it was a funeral, man. Show some respect. Yeah. So we've got just funny articles in there for now, but we're going to start loading them up with really informative articles, and we're going to have discussions and stuff like that. I see here, making sandwiches, Trump University 2.0. No,
Yeah.
we will not be selling real estate.
Nope. We're gonna be. I mean, yes, this stuff is gonna have a cost. The cost is less than a video game, so it's not going to be hard for any of you to afford. And the value in it is huge. And I'm not saying that as a sales pitch. It's true. And
Yeah, we started building it, and man, it just kept going on and on and on.
Yeah, we had to finally cut it off because it's really huge. So there's 7 or 8 hours worth of video. There's guides. There's checklists, and it's about how to get started doing this stuff. So anyway, and we're gonna work with people, so it's gonna be really great. I'm really looking forward to it. And about 2 weeks, it'll actually release. We're putting the final polish on it right now, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So not next week. There's no show next week, but the following Thursday we'll have another show, same time, same place for Like an Entrepreneur. We'll probably pick up where we left off, and we're going to start out with this, video game story of, that got all this attention. Oh, did I mention that somebody wrote a book about it? An actual published book.
Somebody wrote a book about what?
About what we did back in Ultima Online.
Oh, really?
The book's called Play Money. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. And there's a documentary that's being filmed on it as well. So, yeah.
We should post that trailer to our
okay,
Facebook.
so next episode. Okay, so if you're in the Entrepreneur Facebook group, the Like an Entrepreneur Facebook group, I will post it there before we show it to you on the show in 2 weeks. So, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Jordan, are we good?
Dunreeve asked a question. He said, what was the deal with signing up through that webpage a while ago? Yeah, that's just our list. You're just expressing interest in seeing, what it is, what the product is before anyone else, and getting possibility of an awesome couple of bonuses that no one else will get by getting on that list. So if you've already signed up, then we got you covered, and you'll be seeing an email from us within the next week or so.
Very good. Okay, so Gobbledygooks, I'm going to hook you up right after we end the show with 1,000 gold for being a sub. Thank you for that. And everybody else, you can hang out in Twitch chat as well, because you're all going to get hooked up as well. And so that's it for today. Now, who went and timed out Gobbledygooks again? Guys, just... He was linking to the book I'm in. I just unbanned him. You guys, I love you moderators, volunteers. I'm going to have to dock you all pay. Everybody's a volunteer. So thank you guys for caring so much to ban Gobbledygook twice. So you're unbanned now. Okay, so Jordan,
I think we gotta have some kind of reward for Gobbledygooks. He got banned twice, which isn't really an accomplishment, but it's for stuff that he didn't really deserve.
He's a good guy. He's engaged because he went and found the book and linked to it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
okay,
get
Jordan,
gold.
on our way out, we're gonna do the cash flow song.
Hook
Yeah,
us up.
which I think is what it is. So yeah, guys, all ready to head bob here? Yeah. So maybe Jordan, maybe you need to turn on the volume on your end or something so that you can hear it. Because
All right, well, I'll mute myself then. but-
yeah, sounds good. Okay, we're getting going. Gobbledygooks, go ahead and post that link again. Oh, and we got another sub. I'm gonna hook up the other sub as well. Thorin Thane, thank you very much.
I got a lag, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna have to pretend.
Okay, this is the cash song.
This clock is always cash, need to keep your count. And this shit been on point, I'm working paper routes. Got extra moves, read the name in bold. Need the heat now, this world is cold. Couple thousand hands and we good to
Gobbledygooks,
go.
I'm hooking you up right now. 1,000 gold to you, sir. Spend it on whatever you want. I recommend dancers, exclamation point dancers in Twitch chat. But careful, you may not get what you're expecting. Yeah. And then, who else was there? Thorin Thane. All right. So, Thorin Thane, hooking you up as well. 1,000 gold to you. That'd be 100 dancers. They only cost 10 gold each. And everybody give it up for Gobbledygooks because of him. Another 10 gold to everybody. Another dance for everybody. And Thorin Thane, another 10 gold to everybody in his honor as well. Tell them thank you and welcome. Okay, that's it. Jordan, it's been fun.
It's my pleasure, my friend. I'll see you next
Okay,
time.
yep, don't hang up yet. We're not done recording,
Okay.
but I'm gonna mute you.
Okay.
This is the dramatic exit.
This clock is
Got it.
always cash, need to